Okay, now I'm not going to intro it just yet. I'm just going to let the music do that for us today.
My thoughts, beliefs, soul set in stone. Can't shut my mouth, can't be alone. Those midnights, all those years ago. Trying to bring myself up from below. But the warmth I feel when I'm close to you, oh, the warmth I feel is so absolute. You opened me up like a parachute, and I drifted down to a home with you. Ooh, ooh. I had a day, I had a day, I had a day. Remember running from his touch, thinking my mind wasn't enough. All those cliches, they seemed like a bluff. A girl could dream, but not too much. But the warmth I feel when I'm close to you, that's one cliche that I'll overuse. Oh, the warmth I feel when I'm close to you. No miles, hours, seconds can undo. I had a day, 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 I had a day. I had a day, I had a day, I had a day, I had a day.
Oh my goodness. Wanja, wow, you just gave me chills just then. You sound like Sam Smith meets Adele meets Emily Sandé meets a lot of like amazing UK artists, pretty much, and Andra Day, all in one beautiful buttery sound. You You are phenomenal. So in case you don't know who we have in studio today, we have Wanja Wohoro, who is a singer, a songwriter, a guitarist, a freelance songwriter as well. And today we get into her journey and her story into music and into creating her very first album, Matriarch, which comes out September 3rd.
Actually art, like visual arts. Music was a close second, but I had a really awesome art teacher, and I've always loved painting and everything. And I just loved it.
Were you always interested in music growing up?
Yeah, I've always loved to sing. When I was a kid, I was part of like a children's choir called the Sunflower Kids Club. I don't know if you remember them, but they had like...
What, in Kenya?
Yeah.
Sunflower Kids Club.
Yeah, it was just like this group of kids. We used to dance and like go to different churches. We had like a play at Village Market. That's like my first encounter with like studios and newspapers and music in that kind of bigger way.
Right. So it feels like artistically you were always, you always had a space for you to flourish, whether it's music or art or dancing. So do you dance as well?
Well, not anymore, no. I mean, not in any like choreographed way, no.
Yeah. And is anyone else from your family into music too?
Yeah, well, my dad was a musician in his day.
Oh.
He actually could still be, but he doesn't play anymore. He used to sing and write his own music and play keys and play guitar. He's got a very musical ear. But yeah, I mean, he kind of stopped doing that after, you know, having children and everything, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, he still has that in him.
So how was, actually, now that we're here, how was your dad's reaction when you were like, I think I want to take this seriously?
I think like when I wanted to study in Sydney University, I wasn't sure I wanted to study, but I knew I wanted to do something creative. So I just did a Bachelor of Arts, but then I focused on music. And my dad's kind of thing was, you do you, do what you want, but also always cultivate like other skills. So like, don't like forget other things you like writing and, you know. So I did sociology as well because that's something I also really love. Okay. So yeah.
And your mom?
My mom, I mean, my parents are just sort of like,
do you?
I mean, they've never said like, this is a bad idea.
Right.
I think they worry about me, obviously. I think they worry about me no matter what I was doing. Yeah. So yeah, they're very supportive.
Okay, good. So you then did a double major in music and sociology. Yeah. So why did you choose to come back to Kenya?
To be honest, I guess because I did live in Sydney for like 10 years. Yeah. And I did high school and uni there, and I have itchy feet in terms of travel. Okay. And I kind of wanted to come home and see what I could create here because I feel like you just have access to, for instance, I could never record at a studio of this caliber in Sydney.
Why?
Well, I could, but it would take a lot of saving and a lot more money.
Okay.
And also just like it's harder to find connections in Sydney in terms of the creative sphere. Like here, I know loads of producers, I know loads of musicians, I know loads of people who are photographers. Like, I know so many creatives and they're my friends.
How did you get into that circle?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's a bit coincidental that all of the people I grew up with
are like famous.
You know, but even like my brother and sister, like all of their friends are creatives, and they all, you know, like Jazz is my producer, and Jazz and Doho work together. Yeah. So it just like works out really well that I have a lot of people around me who are doing the same thing, who can support me. So rather than in Sydney, you're kind of a bit of a lone ranger, and it's not that you can't find those groups, but it's a lot. I just kind of was excited to come home and to collaborate with all those people to create something. Okay.
Yeah. And at that time, how long had you been living in Australia for?
So at that point, it was coming to 10 years.
Wow. Yeah. Did you find it hard at all to come back and sort of connect with the audience, the music, your friends and stuff? Was there ever some kind of disconnect?
I think because I traveled home quite a lot during my degree, not quite a lot, but like every year, I'd come home for a few months. And I would try and retain those like connections and relationships that I had. And I mean, home is home, you know, like if it feels like home, you can't really get that again anywhere else in the same way, I don't think. I mean, you can find other bodies of people that you get on with in a familial way. Yeah. But I feel like when you know somewhere is home, it's much easier to return there than to go anywhere
and you
else.
Felt, even though it feels like majority of your time you spent
I know, it's
in
crazy.
Australia, you still feel like Kenya's home, which is great.
Yeah.
And did you dive straight into music when you came back?
Yeah, I did. I didn't do it full time. I didn't like commit to being a musician. I was, for the first like 6 months, I was just trying to figure out what to do. And then I was just like, you know what? It's kind of now or never. Like, I'm young. If I'm ever going to like take a leap of faith, it's like a really good time to do it. So I was like, why don't I just like take this and run with it? Yeah.
How would you define your music?
Well, I actually made this a status on Facebook because I get asked that question probably every day.
Yeah.
And I just never have a good answer. So I asked my Facebook friends.
Yeah.
And just people, I was like, so what do you guys think my genre is? Just tell me, just give me an answer I can say.
Yeah.
So my friend Lindsay commented and she said Afro Indie Soul. So that's what I've been saying because I feel like it encapsulates.
Afro Indie Soul.
Yeah.
And when it comes to music, who do you look up to? Both in Kenya, let's do in Kenya. Like, who would you love to collaborate with in Kenya and internationally as well?
This city is there's so many gifted people in this city. And like, I keep getting surprised every other week. It seems like someone's showing me someone new that I've never heard of in Nairobi. But meanwhile, they have a whole album on Apple Music. Like, they're so established, but they're like 20 or something. But they're so amazing. So Tetushani and Kato Change are on my album, and they're two of my favorite people, like musicians anyway. Like, I could just listen to them play forever. The amazing. And other than that, I mean, there's so many people. Shiano, Kavinya, Karen, obviously. Just like, I could just go on Mayonde. All these people are just sensational.
And internationally, is there anyone you'd be like, oh?
I mean, that list is long.
Let's take top 3.
I don't know if that makes it easier.
Watching.
Okay. So I always say this, but Hiatus Coyote is probably my favorite band right now. And the lead singer is called Napalm, and she's just phenomenal. I think all of the people I love the most currently, like today, 2018, are women who sing and play. Those are like by far, because they're the people I resonate with the most and the people I can aspire to. Because they're such accomplished songwriters, but they're also accomplished accompanists of their own music, which I think is such an important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of singing and playing, so you are singer, songwriter, and guitarist. Which of the 3, if I was like gun to head right now, pick one to do for the next, 2 years, and you can only focus on one of those?
Songwriting.
Easily.
Really? That's my favorite process of music. Like, actually, recording is probably one of my least favorite because I find it very stressful.
Why?
I don't know. Recording is really scary because, again, like I was saying to you before we started, it's like you have to immortalize something forever, and so it's almost never perfect enough, especially when you're a musician and a creative and you want everything to be perfect. But the songwriting process, I think, is my favorite because it's where you get to just purely create. It's not about what other people think. It's not about other people's interpretations, or you haven't put it out there yet. It's like very personal and like healing, and it's the best part of it, the process for me. Like, other people are different, obviously. Some people find that same freedom in performing. Yeah. And I like to perform, but I think songwriting is what I would love to just like go away and, like Solange, just go and hide in like a house for a year and just write, and that's just my
create.
Dream. Yeah.
Now, you started off by singing for us "You," which is one of the songs in your album, which is coming out, which is Matriarch.
Yeah.
How do you go about? I mean, it was a very personal song. You were talking about the warmth. What's the hook? It's like, I'm looking for the warmth.
The warmth I feel when I'm close to you.
Yeah. So do you draw inspiration from a personal space, or are you just like, I just watched an episode of Scandal, and that looks like a really great way to just like dive into songwriting?
I think one thing that I've always said about songwriting, again, I try not to make like absolute statements, because everyone is different. But I genuinely feel like the best music ever made is the music that is about you and your story. And if you're ever writing about something else or somebody else, or if you're trying to emulate someone and not being true to what is actually happening to you in your life, you'll never make art, I don't think, that is at the very least interesting. Because that's the one thing that we have that nobody else has, is our own personal experiences.
Okay. Well, we have to take a short break, but when we come back, we're getting into The Matriarch, what's in the album. We just heard a snippet of it, which is you and the warmth. I mean, I'm not going to sing, so don't worry, I'm not going to butcher your song, but we want to dive more into the album, the process of creating it, and the whole 9 yards. So we'll be back in a moment. We're in studio with Wanja Wohoro, and she's about to start off this second segment with a song from her album, Matriarch.
Finally, I'm above water. Finally, I'm here. Separate your fears from your failures. Finally, awaken. 23 and I found myself clutching at straws, missing life as a teenager, plucky and flawed. All this time I never knew how hard it was to find what's mine, what's mine. What's mine? Visualize, they say, then you'll find it. Emphasize, compromise, don't lose your sense of self. It's in your mind, woman, rise. The ceiling has vanished. Then why do I feel so tied down? 23 and I find myself staring at planes, wondering if that big blue sky could take me away. Here I am as I was still searching for what's mine, what's mine, what's mine. 23 and I find myself standing on the stage, wondering how a 12-year-old girl has reached this place. All this time I never knew how much I could love. What's mine? What's mine? What's mine?
Hey. Thank you. Oh, that's stunning. Do you mind telling us a little bit about that song?
Yeah.
Where,
So I wrote this song towards the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of last year, and it was just kind of a moment of realizing the transition between like finishing uni and like starting your life, I guess, and having all your time to yourself and getting to decide what you want to do. And then I started to think about this idea of like, what is yours? Like, what do you actually get to say is mine, something I own, like something that I can claim. And for the first time in life, you have to think about that, you know, because in uni, it's like you're kind of given things like, this is something to work on. This is something to work on. This, you know, and you're never really given time to reflect on what is actually something I'm working on that is mine. So that's kind of when I was also fully deciding to like make music what I wanted to do. So I was like, this is something I can say is mine and I can own it. So that's what
the song is called Mine from the album Matriarch.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, if you have any questions for Wanja, please hit us up on social media. That's Living With Ess on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll also share her Instagram handle. Actually, which one are you most comfortable engaging with? Is it Instagram?
Oh,
Twitter?
Instagram for sure.
Instagram, yeah. And also her YouTube channel as well, where she does have a couple of her songs there. Yeah. But now I want to get into the album that's coming out in September, Matriarch. Can you tell us a little bit about what to expect? We've heard a couple of songs, you and Mine. But what about the album in general? Should we expect? What can we expect from it?
Musically, I think probably a style you may not really have heard before, because I was even listening to it the other day, and I was trying to figure out what the sound even is. And
Afro indie soul.
It's Afro indie soul, exactly. But it's quite different, I think, especially for the space in Nairobi, and I'm also trying to claim that space and not be too afraid of things not being conventional or like other contemporary music. But honestly, it's really personal. It's about what I feel and have experienced being a woman. And, also that an album about women empowerment, or it's not even about women empowerment, but an album about being a woman doesn't have to necessarily follow like a recipe of like only songs that are about empowerment and being strong and being, there's so many complex things that come with being a human, let alone being a woman. So it's kind of that journey for me of different things I've experienced and just little snapshots of those things.
How many songs in total?
It's 9 songs.
9 songs. And we've heard you and mine. Are they all just one words? I feel like you, mine, hers, theirs.
Yeah, they are actually. Yeah, they are.
I can't wait to sink my teeth into that. But so how did you come up with the name Matriarch?
I was sitting in March last year, and I just was like, I honestly don't know why it came into my head. Maybe I was reading something online, very likely, probably something about elephants, and I don't know. And I just saw the word, and I just remember thinking just racking my brains for a while, trying to think if I've ever heard anyone use that word like in music or in like feminist discourse or in like a Beyonce song, people who use a lot of feminine queen, royalty words. And it's so uncommon. And I was like, why? It's such an epic word. And it holds so much more weight than just being like, for instance, like a leader. It's like it means you're a leader of something, of people, of a community. It means it's more than just being an individual above other people. It's an individual serving other people as well. So I just thought it was like such a nice image of a caretaker and a leader and someone who's strong and female. Exactly. So I loved the word, and I was like, maybe I should write an EP. So it's going to be an EP at first. It's going to be like 4 songs, and then I just wrote more.
How long did it take you to write the 9 songs?
So the two of the songs were written before the album. Before I even had the concept. I had written them in 2016. And then the others I wrote between July and January.
Wow. Oh, so sometimes you think that it's like, it's just a song, you can get it out in an afternoon, but I guess you're also
that's the thing I did, but it took a lot of them. It doesn't take that much time to write itself, but the process of writing all 9 and like eliminating ones that you don't like and just like making them better. And honestly,
but it takes time is what I'm seeing. And sometimes you can just be like, pick a song, find a nice tune that you like and start singing. But
for sure, it took maybe like 30 minutes to write because I just had I had the thing in me to write it. So, but then some songs take much longer.
Okay, so when you have that thing in you, what's the first thing you do? Is just pick pen? Do you find the tune too?
Chords. I always do chords first usually. So I just either on my keyboard or on my guitar, I write a progression. And then I hum, and then a melody comes, and then I write to the melody. That's usually how I do it. Not every time, but most of the time.
And that process took 30 minutes?
Yeah, because I think I probably already had the chord progression that I liked from a previous time of just fiddling around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. Now, matriarch. Who would you say are some of the women that have come out as matriarchs? You know, leaders of communities, strong female characters that you look up to in your life.
I mean, it's cliche, obviously, but like, obviously, everyone's like, my mom.
Yeah. Okay.
My mom, my grandmother on my mom's side. And honestly, a big inspiration for it was actually my shosho, who I never actually knew because she died when I was very young. But I remember part of this process for me was coming home, was also realizing, you know, that I was talking about claiming things and like realizing that I have a whole ancestry behind me, like a whole weight of women who came before me who are the reason I exist, that I know almost nothing about. And I know so little about like my shosho's life, really, like what her family was like, what her mother was like. But it doesn't mean that that didn't happen. Yeah. And so I sort of kind of maybe have invented kind of these matriarchal figures in my head that I will never meet, obviously, because they died long before I was born. Yeah. But that's actually kind of more the matriarchs that I feel inspired from, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then I see the women in my life, or, you know, famous women or whatever, who are so, you know, amazing and who've done so many amazing things and who inspire me and give me courage. And I just think of who they come from as well, you know, and like we're all part of this amazing like tapestry of women who, yeah.
What's been the hardest part about putting together this album?
Oof. Being an independent artist by far is difficult because no one really prepares you for the fact that you have to do everything.
And by everything you mean?
Well, everything's on your shoulders. So every part of the recording process and then what happens afterwards. Obviously, like Jazz has done an amazing job in taking care of that. And he's done even more than that in terms of helping things come together.
Jazz is your producer.
Yeah, Jazz
Odongo.
Yeah. But just that it's up to you to absolutely be on top of everything in terms of getting this project together. So if you want a music video, you have to find all of the people for it, the whole team. You have to like find the money for it yourself. Like everything is on your shoulders. And it's kind of a hard process to describe because there's so many tiny things that sound unimportant. But like even just things like posting online, like I'm sure even you know, like that's a whole business. Obviously, you know, that's your whole life. Like it's a whole business. But like that's just one like tiny piece of like now the whole thing of being a musician, and then you're your own booking agent, your own managing person, your own like you have to do everything.
Is there a reason you chose to go this way, this route?
I mean, you know, everything has its pros and cons, you know, like when you're signed to something, you also sell your music, you know, like you're giving away rights to your music, which is something I'm not super willing to do unless you are a participant in creating the music, you know, like a collaborator, like Tetu or whatever, they own part of that music. So I'm not really that willing at this point to give someone ownership of the rights to the music. And obviously you get a support network behind you, but again, everything has its own compromise, you know? So I'm cool with doing everything myself to an extent till I'm big enough that I can hire people myself. For instance, to just handle some things, like just handle like finding me some gigs, like, social you know, media. Or just like post on Instagram like once a week for me, like just something like that. And I think just also realizing how many things have to be really intentional that look from the outside so easy. You know, it looks so simple to, for instance, also because I crowdfunded. And there's a whole portion of this I'm missing. I crowdfunded for the album.
You talked about the money bit.
So that was its whole other own stressful process in of itself. And it made me have so much like respect for people who do crowdfunding and who do money raising anyway.
Why is that?
It's just it's a really like draining process because you're constantly asking for people for money, essentially is what you're doing. And even though your intentions are good and, you know, you're just asking people for support, really, it's still like, it's really humbling to ask for help, first of all. And it's really humbling to have to consistently ask the same people and push the same message every single day. And kind of without any proof of product, you know, like it's not like donating towards, I don't know, building like a physical structure or building a school somewhere,
or paying for school,
you know,
and you can see they've gone to school.
There's no real proof of product until the album comes out, and even then, it's I don't want to say just music, but it's just music. Like, it's not a tangible
But it's not just music. I know it's not just music.
But again, it's like a much harder thing to sell people to believe. It's just people need to believe in you, like without any proof of what the album will be, because this is before I've even like started recording or anything.
Yeah. So, and how was the response to that?
It was amazing. I mean, like, that's the thing. Part of it is really exhausting and draining and kind of demoralizing at times. But the other part of it is you get a lot of people sending you some really amazing messages. And also I recommend people crowdfunding if they need it as independent artists to get off the ground, because it really helps you get people behind you in a real way. So that I'm already started the project with a whole bunch of supporters, as opposed to just me secretly going into studio, and then releasing a project without any warning.
And they probably feel like it's theirs.
Exactly.
Like,
so they have
album.
an ownership of it, which you don't get really, I think, in any other.
I hear you. We have to take another quick break, but when we come back, well, I don't know, we may or may not have another song. We probably tapped out a Wanja song, but we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be back in a moment. Okay, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we have Wanja Wohoro in studio today. And when I say studio, I do mean like one of East Africa's top studios. That's what Wanja was telling me. Because I walked in, I'm like, are studios always like this? Because this looks cool. Like, I feel like any moment Jay-Z could walk in and be like, yo, what's up?
This is Supersonic Africa.
You never know.
In Lavington.
Right.
It's an amazing studio,
Yeah, Supersonic Africa. You guys have your, stuff together. So, Wanja, do you mind taking me through your day? What does your typical day look like?
I don't know if I have a typical day, to be quite honest with you.
Life of an artist.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that also that I have been working on since I decided last year, like, music is the thing, is to like become a bit crazy in terms of to-do lists.
Okay.
So it's very easy because you're self-motivated, and honestly, I could do absolutely nothing for the next 3 weeks and no company's going to be destroyed, or no, you know what I mean? Like, there's no impact from me doing nothing. Do you get me?
Yeah.
Everything you do is self-driven. And that's honestly one of the hardest things to motivate, is when it's all on you to obviously get things happening. So I've become like a queen of to-do lists, where every day I write like maybe 10 things that I need to get done.
Okay.
And they can be anything, just for life. Just finding gigs, or emailing this person, or getting this video, is this video ready, is this song ready, etc.
Right.
So whether it's sending an email, or posting online, or going to a meeting, or whatever, or going on Living With Ess, or whatever it is, that's on my list today, which I will highlight later as I've done it.
Isn't that the most satisfying thing? So like crossing something off, you're like, oh my goodness, I might as well go back to bed now. I've just done it. Yeah,
I feel so good at the end of my day when I've done things. So I guess a typical day is honestly like, I make like a list for like the next couple days. Then I wake up. I usually like do all my social media, like email-y, following people up stuff in the morning, because I find it really hard for some reason to practice in the morning.
Okay.
I'm really bad at also consistent rehearsal. It's one of the things I really need to work on. But I try to rehearse at least every other day. Although, again, that fluctuates based on whether I have gigs. If I have gigs, I have motivation to rehearse. But if I don't have a gig for like a few weeks, then I kind of waste time.
Speaking of gigs, how do you go about that? Do you approach people incessantly?
All the time.
And where do you just go online and see what's happening and then see if you can find your way into performing on that night?
Yeah, basically. So recently, I don't know, I've also begun to... The more gigs you do, the more clout you get, the more well-known you get, the easier it is to like pitch as well. So that's what I've started to do now more, is to be like, okay, can you give me 2 weekends this month that I can play here? Yeah. I can bring my own sound. I play for myself, so you don't have any extra costs except me. Yeah. And can you just like pay me this amount? Yeah. And, sometimes, loads of times people don't reply, but then sometimes they do, especially if you've already established a rapport because you've performed there before or whatever. Yeah. It's honestly such a hustle. Like, you just have to keep asking and asking until...
Knocking on doors. And then suddenly, it's just like, Wanja, please, can you come play for us? It's funny. Funny how that's the case with, like, a lot of artists or creatives or creators. The starting off, it's the most difficult thing. Hard, but then at some point... everyone then starts knocking your door. But it's the pushing and the knocking and the lists that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of gigs, do you ever get nervous?
Yeah, I get nervous, but to be honest, the reasons I get nervous are more because of playing guitar.
Okay.
Because
Why?
for a long time I didn't like guitar very much, and I still have days of really not liking it. But because I played it more out of necessity than out of like love for the instrument.
Necessity in what way?
Because I didn't want to have to keep hiring people to play with me. It's just it's an incumbent thing, like on you, when you have to keep seeing if someone's free, and these are other guys who are gigging all the time. So if they get a better paid gig the day before, they're gonna just tell you sorry. Like, and you can't even fault them, because if you're gonna get paid 4 times as much and you are also paying your rent,
okay, true,
I can't, and I'm gonna give you maybe 5K, like so I knew that was coming. So I just kind of curbed it kind of early, because I already had started playing. I was like, Wanja, you just have to get serious with this. It's important so that you can support yourself. You can play wherever you can, and it just makes life more easy. So I get nervous still because I don't feel as adept as I want to be, which is again my fault because I don't practice enough. But
you're really good though. I mean, I'm not a guitarist, so I'm not sure where I'm speaking from, but from what I heard,
thank you.
That's pretty amazing. Is guitar the only instrument you play?
I play keys as well, but I
keys
dropped
being
it off.
Piano.
Yeah.
That's like
that's the cool way of saying piano.
These artists think we know, we're like, keys. We play keys. What does that mean? Where are my keys? Can I? But okay, so piano.
Yeah, I play piano as well, but I didn't play for a while, and now I'm only starting to pick it up again and try and write with it more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a little birdie told me that you were in a group. Are you in a group?
In a group?
Like Dawa?
Oh
what is that?
Yeah, so that's me and my partner's like little, because he's also a musician.
Nice.
So we play together sometimes.
Yeah. So do you ever do gigs together? Is that something that
No, we haven't, because we haven't lived in the same country for a long time. But we intend to. Yeah.
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 And how did you come up with Dawa? If I have it right, it's DA and then a separate word, WA.
Yeah.
Which
it's
at first
honestly,
I wasn't sure. I was like, so is it Dayway, Daway, Dewa? Like, I'm trying to sound, artistic.
I can't even remember. I honestly cannot remember the logic behind that. It was just because at that point we were just drinking a lot of dawas, like not even the alcoholic ones. I mean, like just literally like ginger. Like, especially as a singer and everything. Like it was just nice.
Yeah.
So, I don't
Dawa,
even know.
That's so interesting. Okay, so when it comes to separating the two, that's like songwriting, and especially when you're talking about Dawa, the group, and then Wanja Wohoro. How do you know which song is perfect for the group, like Dawa, or which song is perfect for Wanja?
Well, the thing is, Dawa is actually like, me and him have maybe written like 2 songs together. Like that's like a really small like side thing. Okay. But I have like collaborated a lot more. Let me not say a lot more in the last 6 months to a year. Okay. And I think collaboration is by far one of the best ways to learn as a musician, and also to gain confidence in your own musical decision-making abilities. So it's very easy to
with other artists, you mean? Okay.
So it's very easy, like when you're by yourself in your room, in your bubble, to make decisions and feel comfortable with them and know whether you don't like them, know whether you like them. But then as soon as you're thrown in, so recently I was collaborating with EA Wave with a song because we're going to South Africa at the end of next month together, which is going to be so fun. But in that process, they have such a different way of writing, obviously, because they're electronic artists and they have a different process entirely. But they're very open to me, like coming with my guitar and adding things. And just having the confidence to add things to somebody else's, there's like 5 of them. To add something else to a whole body of people's, like all your decisions are coming together to create one thing, right? And you all have to agree it sounds good. Right. So I think that like collaboration and working together like helps you really have confidence and to push you to make musical decisions, like little small ones of ideas. And being comfortable with, actually, I'm all right. Like, my ideas are pretty good sometimes, which can be, obviously a good thing. Yeah.
Any advice to upcoming artists?
I'm an upcoming artist. So,
so maybe,
to my peers.
To your peers. Like, what have you learned? Or people who are watching right now and are thinking about it and haven't gone as far as you have, which is your album is like waiting to be released, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's crazy because it sounds like such a big thing. And to Wanja 2 years ago, that would have been like, but I have had this like epiphany recently, which is that like the journey of doing something is by far the most important part of something. Because as soon as you reach a milestone...
Wait. No, that is tweetable moment. The journey of doing something is the most important part of it.
Because as soon as you reach a milestone, it stops being a milestone.
Yeah.
You know, like as soon as I, you know, played my first gig with a band, which was such a huge dream for me one time. As soon as I did it, it wasn't even that exciting to me anymore.
Yeah.
But the process of rehearsing and anticipating it was like more exciting than even the accomplishment of it. Yeah. And even with the album, of course, I'll feel so satisfied. But I should never put those milestones as things that are going to change my life forever or make me so happy. Like as soon as you make the milestone, you've already grown enough to reach that point.
Yeah.
So everything's on par again.
Yeah.
Everything's on par again.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, I feel like one of the things that I've just learned recently is to, wherever I am right now today, like, this is such a cool thing. Yeah. Like, I would have been amazed by this even 6 months ago. Yeah.
But so everything you've done has led you to this.
Yeah. Is what is the most important and what I should be happy in.
Yeah, I feel you. And I think a lot of times we see the glitz and the glamour and the like fancy cars and we think that's what I want.
Yeah.
And we forget, and you refer to it as the exciting part. You know, you're excited about it, but for a lot of times it's also terrifying or embarrassing or difficult, and it's tough, but it's so fine hard. And it makes up the journey, it makes up the story. And like you said, it's always like when you get a new phone, it's like, wow,
for like maybe 10 minutes
and then like it's a new phone.
You know, like those milestones are great, you should have them, but they shouldn't be the thing that you think is going to make you happy.
Right. Okay, for this next segment of the show, what's going to happen is I'm going to play you a song and you're going to love it. Kidding. No, Wanja is going to teach me like a few chords.
Okay.
Right. Although
oh wait, you're already playing one?
No, it's because I remember one from like choir. I used to be part of the choir.
All right, I see you.
Okay, but
that's
you teach.
A.
This is A. I thought so. So like, used to... No.
Almost.
Oh, so I have to look at what I'm doing, don't I?
wait.
Like this?
Just hold on. Do that. Go back to what you were doing. Go down again. Put this finger here.
Here.
Put this one down on the bottom one.
Oh.
And put this one. There you go. That's D.
I'm going to go back to A.
Yay!
I used to know something or a thing or two about this, but obviously those days all.
But see, your fingers, that's muscle memory. Your fingers, like,
yeah. But I remember. So it used to be when the music plays and the dog is. No, I'm not going to embarrass myself on television. No, thank you. We're going to leave the singing to the experts. Okay, and that was it. It was beautiful, wasn't it? Isn't her voice just the most beautiful, magical thing ever? We actually had to get out of studio because Supersonic Africa have other clients and business to do, money to make, recordings to take place in there. But I just wanted to take a quick moment to let you know that we do have some exciting things planned this weekend. Just in case you're wondering, what do I do? What's going on? I'm bored. Well, here's some events that are coming up. First things first, we have got Israeli wine tasting and delicious biting. So basically they have, you get a chance to experience 6 different types of Israeli wine, plus a sample of 6 exotic and delicious bitings from Saturday 25th of August, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Akon Special Tutorials. And then, of course, Michael Soy, one of the most renowned Kenyan artists, has his women art exhibition from 10 a.m. till Sunday, the 9th of September at 5 p.m. at the Circle Art Gallery. And finally, talk of water rafting, other outdoor activities such as water rafting, campfire, music and dance, bird watching, and many other activities will be happening this Saturday at the Rapids Camp Sagana from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. inclusive of lunch and transport. You guys, you have a weekend packed of activities, so no excuses about being bored, okay? But before we forget, I'm going to remind you about social media and the fact that you better be following us. That's Living With Ess on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And for now, I'm going to love you and leave you with Wanja recording one last song that is just listen. You're going to love it. Trust me. Listen.
There's nothing I can't handle. If I trust myself, there's nothing I can't handle. If I trust myself, speak to me of fortune, or how you were raised. Did mama give you money, or did papa give you praise? Speak to me of struggle. Have I known enough to justify these feelings of not being enough? There's nothing I can't handle. If I trust myself, there's nothing I can't handle. If I trust myself, I've known of separation. I've learned to say goodbye. In fact, I'm a professional. Bet you've never seen me cry. But slowly I am learning that doesn't make me free. Your pain is not less significant because you don't bleed. But there's nothing I can't handle. If I trust myself, there's nothing I can't handle. Let me lie to myself. There's nothing I can't handle. If I trust myself, there's nothing I can't handle. Let me lie to myself.